Hey friends, it's Ryan with Arrows of Love. Welcome back to my channel. It has been several months since I have done a video. The last time I did a video was, I think back in September, when I was talking about the Venus combustion. And we've gone through a series of eclipses. Venus has gone through quite a bit, and now she's back, and now she is reborn in the sky as the evening star. And Venus plays a very important part in 2023. She's going to go retrograde in 2023. She's going to conjoin Pluto on January 1st, start off the year. So it's going to be an explosive year. I have recently moved. I moved back in September. I'm still in Minneapolis, but I'm doing my first video here in my TV room. So it's really good to be back on YouTube. I've been studying the Vedic practice for the last year, so that's part of the reason why I have not been on YouTube. I've been a student lately, and I have a lot to share, more depth of knowledge. So I'm going to talk about the horoscope for the new year, what we can look for January. We have some things coming up. It's kind of an interesting, it's an interesting area here in the sky that a lot of the planets are conjoining in, especially in Capricorn. So Capricorn always starts out the new year. It's about being responsible. It's about making plans. It's about work. It's about progress. It's all those traditional indications of Saturn and Capricorn, reaching your goals, right? Going for achievement. In order to achieve your goals, you got to lay down the plans, and that takes responsibility and discipline. So that is Saturn in a nutshell. Saturn also represents insiders and outsiders. It's the boundary. It represents walls, borders. You can see all of these themes coming up very strongly right now. Saturn is also an indication of longevity in life too. So Saturn is moving from Capricorn on the Vedic side. It's at about 28 degrees right now, which is an important point for any planet in Capricorn. But it's going to move on January 17th into Aquarius. And Aquarius is his sign of the office. This is where Saturn is doing more about getting work done. So we see return to office coming up a lot for corporations and companies around the world. China's opening back up. It wants to get back into the office. Saturn's at 28 degrees of Capricorn right now. That is the exalted degree of Mars. This is where Mars becomes the strategist. So Mars also rules Capricorn. So you got to take that into consideration too. Well, what's Mars doing? Mars right now is stationing retrograde, about to station direct in January 12th. So we've gone through this long Mars retrograde over the last 3 or 4 months. So action slows down, you just don't have as much passion or energy. And Mars now stationing direct means he's getting frustrated, can't move forward. Mars is the warrior, it's action, it's Agni, it's fire. Remember, he's always wanted to move forward, he wants to accomplish his goals. If he's moving backwards, he's real frustrated, he's probably pissed off about a lot of things, not sure what to do. And now he's stationing direct. So now it's time for us to go over all those things that we had to review over the last 3 or 4 months and start making plans to revise them, make them right. So the reason why I'm talking about all of this, what Mars is doing, what Saturn's doing, what Venus is doing, it's all coming to kind of this culmination of events. And Capricorn is about government and the economy. There are 3 portions of Capricorn that are broken up into very different areas for very different reasons, and they represent different things, okay? So the first portion of Capricorn has to do with victories, has to do with war and peace, and it has to do with learning, listening, healing. And then the last portion of Capricorn has to do with the spoils of victory, and the economy and wealth and fame and victory. So Capricorn starts out in Uttarashada. It's known as the invincible star, and that's where Venus, Pluto, and Mercury are sitting right now. So we'll talk about that, what that means. Uttarashada is a place of war, but it's the invincible star. The Vishwa Devas, the 33 universal gods, are the deity that rule this area of the sky. So if you have you can take a look if you're following the Western practice. You can go into AstroSeek, and you can put in your birth time, your natal chart, and then there's some options underneath your natal chart that says sidereal. So you can click sidereal. It's going to pull up your sidereal chart, and then you can click nakshatras. And if you have planets in Capricorn, early degrees of Capricorn on your sidereal side, chances are it's going to be in Uttarashada. And it's the later victory. So it has to do with the later victory, which means there had to be a portion that was an earlier victory, which is the nakshatra, or the area of the sky right before Uttarashada, called Purvashada. So these two are a pair. Purvashada, Uttarashada are a pair. They go together. So it's the early victory and it's the later victory. Venus rules Purvashada, the early victory. The Sun rules the later victory. So Sun Venus, I talked about this in my last video. So this is the reason why I'm coming back to this again. Sun Venus are what we call enemies in Vedic practice. And why are they enemies? The Sun is very individualistic. The Sun represents your life force. It's you, it's your identity. But the Sun in the Vedic side is a separator. He's malefic. It's about him. The Sun just gives off energy. He doesn't take it back. He just eats, okay? Agni eats everything, okay? And that's why it separates. Venus is a benefic planet, but she wants to come together. Venus is about water. Venus is about the transmission of fluids into something else. So Purvashada is known as estuaries, riverways, water, apa. And it's flowing into the larger sea stream, which is ruled by Uttarashada. So there's an element of sexuality here. If you're following my drift, right? The estuaries, apa, water, semen, flowing into, the estuaries, the larger sea. So that's where the egg can be fertilized. So if you go back to my last video, I talk about the fact that in the Vedic practice, Venus actually rules male genitalia, semen, and then Mars rules the female genitalia. So that's the uterus, the yoni, the womb. So that's why I'm talking about Venus and Mercury and what's going on with Venus and Mercury. We talked about this last time, and there's just this combustion. The Sun combusted Venus over the last few months. There could have been some struggles in intimacy and love, asserting your own individuality, but also wanting to come together. And that's why Venus and the Sun are enemies, because the Sun wants to be on its own. The Sun wants to do its own thing, where Venus wants to come together. So the two just don't pair well. They're archetypal opposites, but the two play a very important role. If you abuse one, if you abuse your individuality, your Sun's going to be damaged in the next life. If you abuse sex and relationships in one lifetime, you're going to have a damaged Venus in the next. Then you'll have to work on your individuality and being single. So that's how this works, okay? So why is this important? We are in the Capricorn sign. It's about taking responsibility. It's about sobriety. Capricorn's dry. Capricorn's in the middle of winter in the northern hemisphere. It's about lack. It's about boundaries. It's about those things that you don't want in love. Attraction, aversion. It's going to be extremely strong in some of these areas of the charts, okay? Especially in that Shravana area, especially in that middle portion of Capricorn. So let's talk about what's happening. The Sun right now, okay, and this is where I'm deviating from the Western practice. The Sun in the Eastern practice, the Vedic side, is in Purvashada, Sagittarius, okay, ruled by Venus. So the Sun is not in a friendly sign, okay? This is a sign of wanting to come together. Purvashada is the early victory, but it's also, it can be a tragic area of the chart too. Adolf Hitler had this area. It's often associated with war. You see this happening with Ukraine. Venus was conjoining with Pluto this time last year, and this is when we saw the start of the Ukraine war. Well, she's back. She's made a whole cycle all around the zodiac, and now she's back to this point on January 1st. So the sun is in Sagittarius, and now Venus, Mercury, and Saturn, 3 people, are sitting in Capricorn. Now, what's really interesting about this is Saturn, Venus, and Mercury play for the same team. Okay. Now, there's teams in astrology. They work together. They create trines to each other. Okay. That's that 120-degree naturally flowing energy. So Saturn ruled nakshatras, signs make trines over to Venus ruled nakshatras. Capricorn makes a trine over to Taurus. Taurus is ruled by Venus. Taurus makes a trine over to Virgo. Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So the 3 play for each other. They play on the same team, okay? Mars, Jupiter, and the Sun play on a different team. So you have 3 team members, family members, friends, coming together in the sign of Capricorn. You have Venus and Mercury combined, conjoined right now, December 29th, in the sign of Capricorn in Uttarashada, ruled by the Sun. The Sun separates. The Sun splits. The Sun wants to assert its individuality. Uttarashada does not have a counterpart. It is ruled by the mongoose, represented by the mongoose. The mongoose doesn't have a counterpart. The mongoose seeks out snakes. It's battling snakes, essentially. That is the point of the mongoose. So it's very singular in nature. So here comes the planet of learning, maybe a younger person, Mercury, or a younger, this Case. Hi, Case. Come over here, Case. Casey! 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 Come here. Come on. Yes, buddy. Come say hi to people. Come here. Come on. Come over here. Oh, it's Case. Oh, it's Case. He came say hi. I think the mailman's here. So sorry for the interruption. So I was talking about Uttarashada and how it's singular in nature. It's ruled by the sun, right? The sun eats everything, right? So there's an appetite here, but there is a point at which the sun wants to release. Remember what the sun is going to do at a certain point of time, right? So the sun is a malefic planet. The sun will separate you. The sun will separate perhaps Venus and Mercury. It could be. Each might want to assert its own identity, its own individuality here, and they're conjoined right, and they're coming up to Pluto. So this is the reason why I'm saying it's kind of like a kaboom. And Bood, Mercury, is going to now retrograde. So it's kind of like, here comes Venus, as Mercury is slowing down to go retrograde as of today. Venus delivers perhaps some news, some secrets, some things that have been lurking underneath the surface, and now Bood has to go reflect, and he's gonna retrograde and review something, and this is in an area of war and peace. So here's the question: are you going to create a war out of this? Are you going to war, or are you going to try and find a way to create peace? Because the sun is sitting in a Venus-ruled nakshatra, right? And it has a lot to do with sex. The water streams going to the estuaries, right? The sun saying, hey, I'm shining a light on this. I'm giving you this focus. And hey, you, Mercury and Venus, you are sitting in my sign in which I want to just go and hunt out snakes. And I don't want to be in a relationship. I mean, that's literally kind of what this is. Or there's some secrets that need to be revealed here. Or maybe something is revealed. Or the other thing is, Pluto is healing. So maybe it's just time for something to come out so there can be a healing, and think about what is happening last year at this time. So it's probably something related to that. Now, I want to talk about Saturn because, like I said, we have 3 personal planets here, and they all play for the same team. So think about who these people may be in your life. Saturn is in Dhanishta. It's at the very end of Capricorn. We were talking about that, right? 28 degrees, that's the exalted degree of Mars. This creates a Yama Yoga, okay? Saturn, Mars, not great. And it has a lot to do with the economy. Look at what the economy is doing. It's tanking. Dhanisha has to do with wealth. Dhanisha has to deal with detachment. Dhanisha can be tragic at times too. It's ruled by Mars, okay? This is the last nakshatra ruled by Mars. So Mars here exalts. And it has to do with property too. So some of you may be looking at property, acquiring property, having issues in property. I just had to fix my dishwasher. I just bought this house, right? So Denisha has a lot to do with property as well. And, but mostly the economy, okay? And this is the reason why we're seeing the economy just tank. And Saturn is going to move out of Capricorn and into Aquarius on January 17th. I call that back to office, okay? And Saturn was in this area over the summer, okay? So think about, it would have been April to about August. So think April to August, what was going on. We're going to revisit that, okay? It was return to office. So that's what this is all going to be. A lot of this is going to have a lot to do with that. And Aquarius, right? Because we're moving out of Capricorn and into Aquarius. Aquarius has a lot to do with technology, medical devices. It's ruled by Rahu. It's the illusion, right? So it's the Maya. We're going to have a huge technological revolution coming up. I can guarantee you that, because we're at that precipice. So we're going to see things like Meta, the metaverse. Who knows, right? I mean, it's, the government saying no, but Capricorn's going to be here for the next couple of years. So 2.5 years, or sorry, Saturn. So maybe Mark Zuckerberg doesn't see his meta dream, anytime in the next 2.5 years, but perhaps once Saturn moves into Aquarius, Pisces, maybe this story changes completely. So it's kind of like Saturn always restricts. So Saturn's going to restrict something on society, because that's what Aquarius is. It's the collective, right? Ganymede, think about Ganymede and the water bearer coming down. So it has a lot to do with technological revolutions from brilliant, ingenious people, but also has a lot to do with collective, because the opposite sign here is Leo, Kings, okay? So we're going to see this power struggle between authoritarians and dictators and the collective continue to play out. And a lot of people are expecting, or even predicting, perhaps a larger conflict. I'm not going to say world war, but a lot of the indications here could be it, because we're seeing a lot of the personal planets and even Pluto in an area of war. Purvashada and Uttarashada are an area of war. Adolf Hitler had 3 planets in Purvashada, the early victory. Okay, that didn't work out for him, obviously, because the early victory can be tragic. It can be tragic. Uttarashada is fixed. You're gonna get it is the undefeated victory here. Purvashada, mixed results. Okay, got to get the mind straight. But it has a lot to do with sensuality too. Okay, so why does this all matter? Okay, we talked about war. We talked about the economy. We've talked about love and peace and what happens when you abuse love and what happens when you abuse your individuality. You get harmed planets. And you have Bud, Mercury, and Venus conjoined in this portion of the sky that has a lot to do with separation and individuality, because it's ruled by the sun. Why does this matter? We have New Year's coming up. The sun is in Purvashada, ruled by Venus. Venus wants to bring things together, but the sun wants none of it, okay? Not really. So what could happen? Realistically speaking, someone wants to assert their individuality over the weekend. People want to go do their own thing over the weekend. Perhaps they dip into the underworld because Pluto is involved here. Pluto and Venus will be conjoined almost exactly on the very first of the year, midnight. So females in particular should be careful of power struggles, money struggles. If something does not seem on the up and up, something seems a little bit too dark, too underworldy, you should really avoid it. Okay, that's just the reality. It's also Bood, or it's Venus, saying something or having an idea and causing Bood, Mercury, to retrograde. So it's like almost like, are people having a fight? Are people splitting up? And now Bood is going to have to go back and revisit some things about relationships, about sex, about intimacy. Purvashada is represented by the monkey. So this brings up monkeypox, perhaps. But it's got that monkey-like quality, swinging from tree to tree, wanting variety. You can see where I'm going with this, right? And it's Bood, it's multiplicity, it's wanting perhaps several partners. So and there's 3 planets sitting in Capricorn. 3 is company, right? So here's the advice for Purvashada. If you have Purvashada in your chart, if you have this nakshatra, it's represented by the fan. So Venus is beautiful on the outside, but super hot on the inside because she rules, or she's located, her nakshatras are located right in the middle of all the fire signs, Aries, Leo, and Sag. So she's hot, right? I mean, that's the point. Like, we want intimacy to be sizzling hot, or we want it to be very romantic, and we want it to have a certain aesthetic, and that's why Venus rules sex. She's very hot in all these fire signs, right? But she needs to cool down, so she has this appearance of vibrancy. But on the inside, it is burning hot, okay? So you gotta cool down. That's why it's the fan. So keep a fan next to you, okay? Cool down, go near water. That's why it's ruled by water. You gotta cool down. So this is billowing heat, and you got the sun here. Oh man, people are going to be on fire. On fire. Yeah. Here's a really good clue for both, okay? If it's being activated for you, pay attention to teeth. If your teeth are hurting, if someone else's teeth are hurting, if they have really beautiful teeth, if they have really nasty teeth. Purvashada and Uttarashada rules teeth, okay? So if you are interacting with someone that's got beautiful teeth, perhaps it's Venus doing its work. If it's someone with kind of nasty teeth, it's also Venus doing its work. If you yourself or a partner or a family are having any type of teeth problem, get it fixed. Okay? Get it fixed. Trust me on that. It releases some type of karma, okay? That's a little secret for all of you with this particular sign. The other thing I want to bring up is Dhanishta, Saturn, okay? You have 3 planets, okay? And I just talked about this weird dichotomy between Venus, the Sun, and Mercury, and now we have Saturn sitting at the exalted degree of Mars, okay, in Dhanishta, 28 degrees. Yama Yoga, okay? Dhanishta rules the heartbeat. It's the drum, okay? I hear music. I hear the beat going, right? It really gets you going, right? Here's the thing. Don't overdo it, okay? Gotta avoid the drugs. Anything that's gonna get your heart going way too fast. Sometimes the beat stops, okay? Saturn in Dhanishta at the exalted degree of Mars is a Yama Yoga, okay? That's death, okay? That's heart attacks. That's the heart stopping suddenly because someone's overdoing it, okay? So keep your friends in check. Don't let them take it overboard. If there are power struggles being played out in relationships, the best thing you can possibly do is walk away. It's passing energy, but Buddha is going to retrograde. Something Venus does is going to cause Buddha to retrograde. And it's, it could cause a fight, okay? Because it's in an area of war. So that's the Vedic practice. And I know that it sounds kind of like, ooh, like what could happen, right? But it's also indulging the senses. I mean, it's New Year's. That's what people are going to do. It's going into the underworld. So think about that as well and what that means. It's passing energy, but Boot is going to retrograde, Mercury's going to retrograde, and it's going to cause a whole thing. And some of it could be permanent. So that's why I'm saying some of you might just want to like pay attention to what it is you're doing. So that is the horoscope for New Year's. We're starting off the year with an intense bang, okay? It is intense. And again, I'm reading for the Vedic side, guys, okay? So if you're looking for a Western forecast, I know a lot of great Western astrologers out there, and they're going to give you something very similar. But here, I'm going to be diving into the nakshatras, okay? Pay attention to teeth. Pay attention to beauty. Pay attention to your drink and water, okay? It's rules water, so come on. You can all follow me here and what this is about. Now, what I like about this is that Pluto also presents healing. So after you go through what I call is like kind of like this dark night of the soul and think about what was happening last year at this time, if you've done the work and or if you haven't done the work and you're still at a place where you're stuck, this is where like it kind of, I'm not gonna say blows up, but the universe was gonna help you out. Okay, so be careful. Some of you are going to get grabbed by the planets and it's going to sweep you away, okay? So, and that's what I'm getting to. By the senses, that's what Venus is. We're going to find out. Okay, so that is my astrological interpretation of New Year. Let's pull a card for each of you and go through here. Again, this is for Vedic sidereal astrology. So for this, I would say pay attention to your moon, okay? Because the moon is more important. Lugna is important too, that's your ascendant. But pay attention to your moon sign in the Vedic system, your ascendant in the Vedic system, and then your Mahadasha Lord, okay? And that one is really important. So right now I'm going through a Mars period. I'm finishing out my Mars period in 2025. So I'm actually going through my Mars K2. I just entered K2. I'm choosing spiritual practices and, it's moksha liberation. So I'm slowly but surely clearing out. So for me, I would take a look at Mars because I'm in my Mars Mahadasha. Mars is my ruling planet, so I want to take a look and see where my natal Mars is at. So Moon, Ascendant, Lugna, and your Mahadasha Lord. All right, we're starting off with Aries. You impatient little beasts. All right, Aries. Aries, this conjunction with Venus, Bud, Mercury, and Shani, Saturn is happening in your 10th house. 10 signs past Aries, 10th house, career. Things could be happening in the career front. Your outward appearance. Maybe you're dealing with a trickster. Career is going to be blowing up. So maybe you find out secrets in career. Maybe there's affairs going in career, something to that effect. So that's where it's going to be hitting for you if it's Aries Lugna or Moon. Let's see what card I pull for you. This is for Aries. Chariot, love it. It's victory, Aries. So this also has to do with home. Some of you might be moving. Some of you might have a victory in work. Maybe there's a promotion. Maybe you're moving for work, right? It's all of those things. So you definitely want to consider that. But I love seeing this. It's definitely a victory. It's a new path. Maybe it's a new job. But keep in the up and up areas because that always helps you. Love seeing this for you. Taurus. Mars is retrograding in your sign right now, Taurus, and Mars is going to station direct on January 2nd. So for you, Taurus, that's your 12th house lord and 7th house. So that has a lot to do with partnerships and bedroom pleasures. Okay, so could be reviewing that, Taurus, over the last 4 or 5 months. Let's see what the tarot has to say for you. Justice. So it's a rebalancing, it's a cutting out. This is also the Venus card, so this is you. So perhaps there is some justice being served, some karmic justice, or perhaps you're just saying, I got to rebalance some things here. And that's really what this Mars retrograde is. Are you balancing your relationship with your physical needs? Are you self-sabotaging in any way? Okay. Because that 12th house can be self-sabotage, it can be confinement, isolation. It can also be courts. Someone going to prison? Someone is. Oh, that's weird. I just got that for maybe a couple of you. But there's some courts involved here too. So be aware. But this is it. So Mars is going to station forward. So it's kind of like resolution, or you're going to start seeing a path forward, Taurus. So be careful. All right, Gemini. All right, so Gemini, it's December 29th, and your ruling planet, Mercury, is stationing retrograde, conjoined Venus at 0 degrees of Capricorn. Capricorn, for you, Gemini, is your 8th house of transformation, upheaval, joint ventures, other people's money, karmic debts. The 8th house can be pretty traumatic at times. It's transformation at the end of the day. Okay, so that's what it's leading you toward. And then Bud, your ruling planet, is going to retrograde into its 7th house of Sagittarius. So you are definitely reviewing something with relationships, contracts, your partner, whatever that might be. Yeah, you're balancing. You got to make a decision here, and it's a karmic one. So you're deciding what to do here, right? It's the juggling act. There's got to be some finances involved here too. Perhaps some of you have to rebalance some money in order for a relationship to work, or perhaps there's an imbalance with money. Someone's paying too much, or someone's taking advantage. That's what I'm getting out of this one. So some of you are going to have to rebalance here. Is it really worth it? Is the other person really giving back to you? Because there's something here with money and someone's being taken advantage of here, Gemini. So keep that in mind. Cancer, you are coming up to your your full moon. Wait, are you? No, sorry, that's the western side. Don't let me see. Sometimes I get confused too. But no, coming up to that full moon in Gemini and Sag. That's the 12 and 6 axis that can deal with health, hidden enemies, work routine. Cancer, I think you're going to want to get your routine back into working order. Dealing with work matters, dealing with unseemly people at work, people that are not on the up and up, and things that are keeping you confined and isolated. So you want to address those self-sabotaging behaviors. Let's see what's going on for you. Yeah, you're going through something very similar to Gemini. It's the Two of Swords. It's not having all the information. Remember, the woman here is blind, and here you are, the moon. The quarter moon, it's a point of crisis, what to do, right? And it has to deal with thought, which way to go, what decision to make. You don't have the answers just quite yet. And on top of it, you have Saturn, Mercury, and Venus sitting in your opposite sign in that 7th house. So you have a lot of choices to make. Let's see what's going on with you, Cancer. It's a new love. It's a new start. You are choosing the phallic symbol here. So you're going with what your passion is. I'm not surprised. The moon can be very lusty. So go with what makes you happy, okay? Leo, my lion. Hear me roar. Sun is in Purvashada in your 5th house of romance, children, fun and games. You love this time of the year, Leo, generally speaking. But you have a concentration of energy sitting in that 6th house of work and routine. That's Capricorn. So it's time to get serious, okay? And time to hone in on your skills on that front. So something there needs to be addressed. Some of you are drinking too much. It's not for all of you, just for some of you. And you need to address that. But it has to do with your health. It has to do with work, routine, okay? Service. Who are you serving? Okay, think about that. Bosses. Could be reviewing that over the next couple of weeks, because Buddha's gonna retrograde in there, and then he's gonna go back into that 5th house of romance. So perhaps someone comes back for some of you. You hear from someone you haven't heard from in a while. You're reviewing a decision in love, perhaps multiplicity in love. That's Buddha, so you got to be careful. Yeah, ooh, conflict. 5 of Wands. Well, we are in the 6th house, which is conflict. Oftentimes that represents litigation as well. And, here it is. So 6th house is conflict, but it's also routine and health. So as soon as you clean up your routine and health, this kind of goes away. So that's for some of you. Some of you are just drinking too much and you're fighting. So that's for some of you, not for all of you, but a lot of it, there's something with drinking involved here because Venus is here, okay? She's water. Something with water, okay? You need to drink more water. It's something as simple as that. But it has to do with routine health conflict. Here it is, right? So you got to take it down because that sun in Purvashada is going to be fiery. Oh, and it could be with children. Maybe you're fighting with children, people that are acting like children, fighting about sex and romance, what that means, because that 5th house has a lot to do with intimacy. So that's for some of you. Oh, it's also intelligence too. So some of you might be having philosophical battles about intelligence, who's right and who's wrong. Remember, the king always wants to be right, but at what price, okay? A fight? Maybe not. Okay, keep that in mind. Ugh. Okay, Leo, keep it down. Virgo. Mercury is going to retrograde, starting in that 5th house of romance, back into the 4th house of home, family, and the heart. So, does it touch the heart? Is there enough real intimacy involved, or is it just physical, Virgo? Some of you are, has to do with children too, so maybe some of you find out someone's pregnant. You've been keeping it a secret, perhaps. That's for some of you. Pluto is secrets. 4th house has to do with home and family, so some of you could be reviewing. Some of you might be moving soon. Yeah, that 4th house is being activated. So let's see what's going on. Knight of Cups. Okay, well, that's an offer. It's an emotional offer. I was talking about the heart, right? Because that 4th house is the heart. And that 5th house is romance. So something's touching the heart here. Maybe you get an emotional offer that you have to review. And this is Bood, right? Here's the Mercury's wings. So Mercury is reviewing something and turning backwards. What is going on? Yeah, not doing too. It has maybe something to do with work and finance here, but you're not doing too much. Mercury's holding back, and he's saying, I got to take a look at what I've started and think about this a little bit. So maybe the offer that you were hoping for doesn't come in. Or the offer that does come in, you're not so sure you want it. That's the one. So keep that in mind, Virgo. Libra. What is going on with Libra? Libra, you got K2. Libra, you got K2 in your 1st house and Rahu in your 7th house. You're dealing with relationships. And then you got that concentration of energy over in the 4th house of home, family, nurturing. This again comes down to children. So you might be finding out some people are pregnant. Someone might lose a baby. 4th house, home, family. You're reviewing home. Some of you might be moving too. moving back into that third house of, Boot is going to move back into that third house of Sag. So that's the third house of local environment, competitors, marketing and selling. Yeah, that sounds kind of like selling a house to me. Something with family too, perhaps. A sibling. Third house rules siblings. So maybe a sibling is moving. Let's take a look. Oh, that fellow. The Five of Swords. Post-battle. Okay, so it's an interesting one. Bood, Mercury, and Venus, Shukra are in Uttara Shada, which is war. Bood is turning retrograde, stationing retrograde. So, you know, two are turning back while one says, you know, kind of has a haughty look on his face, holding the sword after victory. So, hollow victory here. Be careful with your words. You got to let something go here, and that's what K2 is trying to provide for you. It's moksha, it's liberation. That's what this is all about. So this is a very interesting card in the sense, like, you need to let something go, but is it a hollow victory? You got to think about that one. At what price are you willing to go here, Libra? Interesting. Scorpio. Scorpio, you have your ruler, Mars, in the 7th in Taurus. So you are reviewing relationships, contracts. It's in the sign of Rohini, Brahma, creation, creativity, intimacy. Cutting something out, huh? Could be a surgeon. I don't know if I get surgery during Mars retrograde, but yeah, some of you are cutting out a relationship, divorce, perhaps. Knight of Wands. Yeah, so that's an interesting one. So you're not doing a whole lot. Well, and Mars is your ruling planet, so that makes sense. Scorpio. Wounded healer, so it could have been after what could have been a difficult time, maybe not really sure what to do, healing, just generally speaking, maybe the body or the heart. But he's surrounded by the wands. He's not really doing a whole lot. It's the 9. And what comes next is returning home. So it's unleashing that burden because it's just time to do it. I think you're going to start seeing some results when Mars turns direct and Bood turns direct. January 12th. So after January 12th, things start to get better. The 12th to the 18th is kind of a weird portion because that's when Mars, Mongol, and Bood start turning direct. So, but they're not moving forward yet. So it's after the 18th that I think you start making some decisions here, Scorpio. Perhaps to move, to unleash some burdens, returning home, something to that effect. Sag. Sag, you got the sun in your sign, in Purvashada. It's a Venus-ruled nakshatra. Like I said, it has always to do with intimacy, wanting to come together, being by the water. It's represented by the winning fans, so I see fans. That's for some of you. You know who you are. But the sun in your sign, so you got a hot sun. Asserting individuality, wanting to be an individual. You got Venus and Bood in your 2nd house of earned income, money, family, food. What are you putting in your mouth? Speech. So this is where speech comes in. So there's things happening around speech, family here, and Bood is going to retrograde back into your 1st house here. So that's interesting. Making decisions about body. What does Bood represent for you? Bood is 7th house partnerships and 10th house career. So it's both. You're reviewing career and partnerships. Ugh. Bood is going to combust in your sign too. Be careful. Careful words. These are fighting words, I think, for you, because you're going to be super hot with that sun in your sign. But it's also good for asserting your individuality. So some of you need to. Being an individual. And Sag does that pretty well for the most part. Oh, 7 of... Yeah, so you're taking a rest too. This has to do with work. So you're taking a look at work and just taking a step back. I wouldn't be making any sudden moves in that department because Buddha is retrograding. Be careful of your words. Be real careful of your words, especially with bosses, because Saturn represents authority figures in that second house. Don't get into it with bosses. That's my advice for you. But 7 is looking at what you've built. The 8 is taking it to that level of expertise. So some of you might be looking to go back to school. Sag is learning, higher education after all. So some of you might decide after this that you want to go back to school. That's for some of you. That's an interesting one. All right, Capricorn. Well, Capricorn, all that energy is sitting with you. You have Shani, Bud, and Shukra. Saturn, Mercury, and Venus in your sign. So a lot of energy is sitting with you right now. And Saturn's going to leave after the last 2.5 years, finally, on January 17th. Shukra is going to make her way through pretty quickly, and then Bud is going to return in about 3.5 weeks or so. Well, maybe less, more than that. So you got a lot of energy sitting in your house right now, and then it all dissipates. So it's kind of like the end. It's the end for you. So all that work, once Shani leaves, that's when he starts giving those gifts, Capricorn. So get ready. It's the final reckoning. Let's see what Capricorn has. Giving you an extra shuffle, Capricorn. What's this one? Oh, commitment. It's the Taurus card, so this is interesting. Institutions, organizations, commitments, whatever you've been working on. Here it comes. This is what you want. It's a Taurus card, so maybe Taurus has some indication here. Mongol is retrograding through Taurus in your 5th house of commitment, so we'll see how that one plays out for you, Capricorn, but gifts are coming. There it is. Maybe from an institution, maybe from a partner, taking it to that next level, Capricorn, maybe. Who knows? All right, Aquarius. So Aquarius, you've had Shani in your 12th house for the last few years, and now he's moving into your 1st house. So that's going to have an effect on you and your partnerships, perhaps career, for 2.5 to 3 years. So you did host Shani in your house, your 1st house, over, what was that, April through August. So think about what was happening through there. It's kind of it's coming back, essentially, right? Whatever that means. 3 of Cups, celebration. I love seeing this card. So I think 3 of Cups is always about coming together with people, celebrating. So perhaps something that you've been working on for quite some time. You have a lot of planets sitting in Makara, which is Capricorn. You know, that's a lot to do with perhaps unseen battles that you don't even know about, or, you know, 12th house has a lot to do with bed pleasures too. So 3. That will mean something for some of you, but I also think it's just celebration, generally speaking. So have a good time. Let's pull a clarifier. So having to rebalance who you give your attention to, or someone's rebalancing who they give attention to. That's why I'm like, well, there's some stuff going on here. Some rebalancing needed. Let me just put it that way. So that's for Aquarius. All right, and Pisces. Pisces, you have hosted your ruling planet Jupiter for the last few years. Jupiter is moving forward again in Uttara Bhadrapada, the sign of royalty, the sign of hardship, followed by mega success. Some of you are going to be blessed, especially when Shani finally leaves Capricorn. Oh. Commitment. Some of you are definitely going to be reviewing commitment. Your 7th house lord, Mercury, is going to be retrograding in the sign of Makara back into Sagittarius. So for you, that is friends and career, network circles, who's a friend and who's not, trickster, younger energy too, by the way, perhaps with nice teeth. But there's something here with commitment. You're reviewing some commitment things, or commitment to yourself. Remember that it's the last of the zodiac and it's time to burn through things. It's moksha and liberation. So if you are committed to things that are not bringing you joy and satisfaction into your life, because that's what Taurus is, the senses, gotta go. Okay, so that's my messages for you guys. Really interesting stuff over the next couple of months. So that Venus, Pluto, Mercury retrograde, things are gonna get shaken up. Things are gonna come to light. Secrets revealed. Headed to the underworld. Power struggles, money, being allured in. That is absolutely Pluto. So I'm including some Western things with some Eastern things so you guys can see how this all plays out. I hope this is entertaining for you. It's really great to be back. Leave me a comment. I will make sure that I have each sign. If you guys just want to take a listen to each sign and the tarot, that's fine too. You don't have to listen to the astrology. But it's really good to be back. Leave comments. Give it a thumbs up and a like. It helps the algorithm, and we'll see you soon. Take care.